So it's almost 2:30 a.m. and I was lying in bed wondering if I should get up and go write some more in my journal. It's actually been a really good day, and the main reason that I'm up so late is because I've been playing Pokemon Go. And the real problem is that Katie likes it almost as much as I do, and so she got home from spending some time with some friends, including her sister, and we were talking and just having a good time, and I still hadn't taken a shower, and it's been kind of a warmish day, and we spent a lot of time outside. Anyways, here I am now, and while Katie was gone tonight, I was listening to some really interesting commentary from kind of a new favorite intellectual and more of just a really reasonable person trying to actually genuinely look for answers to some of the controversial questions that are facing us right now as a nation, and just as people muddling through together. Anyways, it just gets my mind racing and things, and just the nice thing about having a day that's so different and such a huge change of pace is it gets your mind in a really different place. And I don't know how useful it is to stay up past 2:30 in the morning, because usually your brain is pretty fried by that time. And yet, growing up, for a while I believed some of the best thinking I ever did was really late at night, because it seemed like my mind was a lot freer to just create and to try ideas on, and to be flexible with what I was able to allow myself to say and to write, and even when I went back and read what I'd come up with late at night, I would think, oh, this is actually pretty good. And so the opposite is usually true of like academic work, where I feel like I'm trying to really process research or something like that. Anyways, it's, a lot of tangents there, but I think the main point is that when I got out of bed thinking that I should record a video, rather than write in my journal, it would just help me to process these thoughts that were probably going to be keeping me awake. Sometimes when you're up late at night, your mind can go like to a dark place, and what I mean by that is rehash unpleasant memories, and actually bring those emotions back, and sort of make you feel present with this sense of dread, or sense of being not good enough or unsafe. And I kind of felt that too, and it was not fun. I think the main thing that I really wanted to bring out by recording this video was feeling like I do have a sense of purpose, but just really not knowing exactly where that is. When me and Katie were talking, she asked me what my dreams were for the future, and it was just funny because I didn't really know how to respond to that. And the way she phrased it at first, she said, what did you dream when you were younger? was thinking about it, and I was like, well, I definitely had a lot of dreams, but I really struggled to plan for the future because I felt a lot of turbulence and turmoil about the future when I was young. Um, and now, when I look at the future, I'm a lot less turbulent about it. Like, I think um, I have a lot more hope and feel capable of doing good in the world and capable of having more good days than bad days, probably. And it was just a really interesting question and a really, really good topic for Katie to bring up. I wound up posting a question inspired by that to a group, kind of a chat group that I keep up with online, and I think there's so much value in thinking about what you dream and what you want from the future, and making space for feeling free to want whatever it is that you want. I think there's something so beautiful and captivating by that. But the thing is, there's also real power in it. I believe that power is there. But it has to be connected to something else, right? I think a lot of the times dreaming is thought of as being childish, or thought of as being just fantasy, as if it has nothing to do with reality. But then there's the other kind of dreaming that is involved in the creation of reality. There's the dream and the thought that precede actions, and then those actions multiply, and then they create something new. They invent and they inspire. And I think one thing that dreaming is connected to is persistence. Just the maybe stubbornness of not allowing that dream to disappear, and not allowing it to be corrupted or tainted, but holding fast to it and continuing to put action behind it, and to allow yourself to continually be inspired by it. And when you put it that way, dreaming is a kind of work, in the same way that I think prayer and faith are work. And seen in that light, I think dreaming is not childish at all, and I think that spirituality and faith, in a very similar way, are also much more than just blind actions, or much more than just alleviating kind of mortal fears. The reason I smiled just now was because words come out of my mouth trying to capture ideas that I'm having, and I just wonder if anyone listening would really grasp. Or like I just wonder, like, am I making sense? Am I really saying what I mean to say? Um, yeah, there's a lot of abstract ideas that can kind of swirl around in your mind, and um, they're the type of things that you don't necessarily have a way of really capturing in everyday conversation unless you really thought it through first, I guess. And that's why I smiled just then, talking about mortal fears and the validity of religion, trying to just affirm to myself that faith is something that's real and something that's powerful, and is not just about culture. It's not just about morality. If it needs to be justified by anything else, you know? So I think the whole personal conversation for me, going back to the ideas of real dreaming and real aspirations, it sort of goes back to the growing pains that we all experience. And for me, I think what was tough is that I chose a path where I felt like I should have been searching for my dreams, and it was so disillusioning and strange to sort of feel that satisfaction always being within reach but never in my grasp. And I didn't know that I was trying to impress people, or maybe I knew, but I didn't know there was anything better, if that makes sense. I'm just thinking about going to an undergraduate program and sort of always questioning to myself, do I really fit in? Do I really want to be here for the right reasons? And thinking as well, man, I really wish that I was trying more to explore who I am. I really wanted that and felt really trapped. And it honestly kept me up at night. And it just made it so difficult for me to really, really throw myself into the work of becoming a musician or becoming an expert or becoming an academic. Like, there was just always something missing. And I created dreams. I created a vision of the future, and that would just always slip through my fingers. There was just always something about it that I would forget, and that I would lose, and it would just disappear, and I would have to sort of recreate it from the ground up. And I would always go back to a different dream. I would always go back to something else. And I mean, my favorite author, he said, go to school for what they'll pay you to study. And I definitely learned so much from studying music, and it has paid for me to study. And I wouldn't take it back. But man, the thing that was keeping me trapped was fear. The thing that was keeping me trapped was that anxiety that if I did try to negotiate with my advisors and say, look, I need to take an English class, I need to take a Russian class, I need to have more time to explore who I am, and I just feel like this program should not prevent me from being a little bit more flexible. And and I feel serious enough about it that maybe my choice of program needs to change. And maybe it should have changed. I mean, the difference between a Bachelor of Arts and a Bachelor of Music are, pretty slight. And I think, I mean, they're pretty slight in terms of, like, the actual real world application of them, even the professional application. Like, I think that I probably still could have gotten into University of Iowa and maybe been even a stronger candidate if I had a Bachelor of Arts instead of a Bachelor of Music Performance, because I think I would have felt more, maybe I would have felt more like it was me and not me trying to be something to satisfy a criteria or someone. But I can't say for sure that any particular path different than the one that I took would have been better. And I don't think it's fair to look back on my past self and say, oh, you should have known this, or you should have done this. And I want to create a more productive pathway for my mind to travel down. That's sort of an unfortunate habit that I've created that I think a lot of people do, think often of, maybe I should have done this, or maybe I should have done that. It's easier than thinking through, I guess, what you really do have control over and what really um, what you're really accountable for. And yeah, thinking of myself as being totally in control of my future was really scary to me. It still is, honestly. Not like it was in my early 20s. You know, I've let my mom handle finances for me a lot. I've let other people tell me, you know, like, this is right, this is wrong, this is what you should say, this is what you should do. I mean, not that I really follow through on a lot of that kind of, like, not that I really consciously think, oh, like, I should be doing what this person says. I mean, thoughts like that do go through my mind a lot, where it's like, if this person would be happy if I did this, or this person would be happy if. And I'm just realizing how often that happens in my mind, and like what the kind of stress that creates. Yeah. Yeah. Like, the example that I have is of I have a close friend right now, and also my brother, who are really big Christopher Nolan fans, and both of them think he's an absolute genius, and I would tend to agree, but Inception, Interstellar, and The Dark Knight Rises, to me, were good movies, but there was just something off about them, and they just fell short for me in the end. Like, they just felt so big and long and cumbersome. And yeah, it's just interesting to look at it that way. And then anytime I'm in a conversation with someone talking about Christopher Nolan where they really think he's truly brilliant, I just kind of sigh, because I think he could stand to use more restraint, and I think that he has trouble integrating his big idea with the characters. Like, I think the characters sort of end up serving his big ideas, and I don't know. I wish I had more specific examples to share, but I do trust my instinct about it. Just to say that it's like, if I was going to try to copy, the best filmmaker and write a good movie, I would learn a few things from Christopher Nolan, but I would learn probably just as much from his mistakes as from what he does well. But I'm not a filmmaker, and I'm never even finished a book. So, anyways. But the instinct is so strong to just want to say, yeah, Christopher Nolan's a genius, I agree, and just leave it at that. And to just have nothing more to say about it. And there's definitely an element of picking your battles and not wanting to, make people feel upset, and I think those are good things, but at the same time, it's also good to really give yourself the space to explore what you actually feel and think, and the more you do that, I think the more that people respect you, even if you don't have a fully formed opinion about something, even if they get upset that you don't agree and that you don't have a really concrete reason, just acknowledging that you don't have a concrete reason, but that you feel that way strongly anyway. I think that's something that most people would probably respect and be, you know, willing to give space for if they're actually a friend that you really want to have, a friend that you really want to have around. When I was telling Katie about dreaming of the future, um, I was trying to think of something, and mostly I thought of hobbies. I have dreams of, achieving certain goals that don't have a whole lot to do with jobs necessarily. I just wish I could turn all of my hobbies into jobs. Um, and also, just a general quality of life was what was coming to my mind as well. Just the feeling of, oh, I would really like a healthy work life balance. I want to keep all of my teeth. That's a dream I have for the future. It would be really great to never have to wear dentures or a flipper or anything. I think that'd be great. I've thought that actually since I was a teenager. Um, but going along with the quality of life thing, dreaming for the future, I think it would be beautiful to have a group of friends where you're on the same wavelength and you can disagree and you can have really interesting conversations frequently and learn and grow and really get to know each other. I really don't want a whole lot. I really don't aspire to anything really spectacular necessarily, other than um, I do get these big dreams and these big ideas about writing books and about being really physically fit and, you know, kind of making a difference in people's lives and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just sort of sad to feel like I spent all this time studying music and it's like I could use it to do that in people's lives, but at the same time it's like I don't see that happening ever. Ever. And it probably does. I I guess what I should say is that it's like I feel like I don't have a direct impact on people's lives because of music. It ends up just feeling really frustrating, and like the cost to benefit ratio is heavily skewed toward cost, if that makes sense. It's like I am sacrificing so much. Like I've spent so many years studying music, spent a lot of money, and I have, you know, I've designed my life around it, and there are no jobs. And I don't even want the jobs when they come up. And I just have this sinking feeling that my work-life balance is just always going to make me miserable. I'm sure a lot of people experience that. I think a lot of the times I tell myself that it's like I'm recreating the farm that I grew up with, that my dad was always outside working, that I always felt he was emotionally unavailable. even when he was around and I could see him, and that, you know, it was because that he was worried about the farm and he was, you know, working, um, and I've been recreating myself in my dad's image, but as a musician and as an academic. And it has served me in some ways, and in other ways it has been deeply unsuccessful for me to think of how my approach to studying music has kind of turned out. Anyways, whatever the future is, I dream of kind of having answers to all these questions and feeling more at peace with my past self and with where I'm going in the future, and knowing that in the present I am doing the best I can, and that I don't have to feel desperation and don't have to feel so weary. And we're moving in that direction, and it is going to be okay.